one thing I have really worked on is my boundaries, because being sexually empowered doesn't mean that you have a score or you just hit on a list like, okay, today it's with this person. I'm not judging, but I'm saying that for me, sexual empowerment has a different meaning. And I think that should be a common meaning by saying that it is not linked to a number. You being sexually empowered has nothing to do with the number of partners you have.
बेशरम, बदतमीज, छी छी, गंदी, चल हट, तौबा तौबा, ओहो, bad betty.
I'm Sangeeta Pillai, and this is the Masala Podcast, a Spotify original. This award-winning feminist podcast for and by South Asian women is all about cultural taboos, sex, sexuality, periods, mental health, menopause, nipple hair, shame, and many more taboos. Join me around my virtual kitchen table as I talk with some inspiring women from around the world, exploring what it means to be a South Asian feminist today. On this episode, I speak with Pallavi Barnwal, who works in India and is a globally renowned sex and intimacy coach. She has counselled thousands of people, helping them understand, navigate, and improve both their sex lives and intimate relationships. Pallavi has helped millions through her YouTube and other social media platforms, where she talks about everything from BDSM to bisexuality, from masturbation to sex toys. I loved chatting with Pallavi. She is so honest and open about her background, her sexual experiences and relationships, as well as the joy of finding her own sexuality and her work.
I used to be a very shy girl. Like, I used to be so intimidated by if there is a boy standing next to me. Like, there has to be like a mile's distance, preferably. I was so scared. I had my own family trauma, which kind of led to a low self-esteem. So went through my own, I would say, bucket of life's issues. I think the good thing was that I decided to turn my struggle into a cause or an inspiration, my personal inspiration to do something and ensure that no one else goes through what I went, be it sexually objectified in a relationship. Like, okay, am I there just for my body, or, my identity matters? Am I just a body? So I used to go through all those emotions and not knowing anything further. So I strongly believe in, like, sometimes I come across, because, different people have different thought processes, but I feel that sexuality to me is very sacred. It is more than exchange of bodies. It is exchange of energies. There are emotions, or at the very bare minimum, there is the safety involved or health involved, like a lot of things that get involved, and we don't think of sexuality on those terms.
Can we go back to something you just said about your own life kind of was a little bit difficult growing up? Are you happy to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. In fact, sometimes I feel I'm very blessed to see all these, like it's literally like a movie, or maybe a novel where if I look back at my life, I mean, it's the perfect food for a novel. So mom had an affair, and she had an affair because she was not really happy in the marriage. Because she was dependent on my father, she could never kind of, walk out, or she stayed in the marriage, but the affair was not disclosed. Thereafter, like, my father got to know about it after 10 years. He is into palmistry, so he was reading my mom's hand, and he just kind of made this up and said that, I find that there is something that you're hiding from me from the lines of your hands.
Oh
so,
my God.
so she was already under a lot of guilt, and she
Yeah.
thought that, it's the time that she should tell him, because like, now they are involving, all gods and divine being into this. So, and then my father left her, like, not legally, because she never divorced him. But my father separated from her, and he went on to have his own affair, which was a full blown affair of like 25 years.
Wow.
And as a child, I grew up seeing all this, because all of this happened when I was like 8. And I think one interesting thing that stood out for me is because there were so many relationships involved. My mom had a relationship, my father had a relationship. I saw my father's relationship. My mom's relationship was over by the time, like, I was. It happened before I was born. But my father's relationship started when I was like 7, 8, after the marriage was,
Hmm.
broken.
Hmm.
And then I used to accompany my father to his visits to
Hmm.
that, woman, because she was also a married woman. And in the society, a man cannot be seen. So my father would take me along because that makes it more acceptable. Like there is a child also
You
going.
were like the decoy. Yeah.
I mean, I now I understand why I would frequent, visits. There was like why I would be accompanying him always. So I think all of that, I was not able to process it. What is that? But it had a lot of impact because I had no baseline of what a healthy relationship looks like. It was all over, like anything which was volatile.
Yeah.
Okay, anything which is volatile, which is volcanic, which is intense, which is chemistry, I would associate everything that as a relationship, and I ended up creating same relationships in my life through that, energy. It's basically the energy that's the
Yeah.
inner state of your body. So now I realize why I would attract all those men, or why I would get attracted to all those men. Well, it was also my inner state of turbulence, which was not really, human beings have this unique ability to adapt. Like
Yeah.
we can adapt to so many things, and we can also adapt to trauma, we can adapt to toxicity.
Yeah.
So that's how I think the downward spiral of relationship failures after relationship failures, like so many relationship failures. And thankfully I kind of, because I know so many people who are still into the throes, like they still struggle, they have no way out. So I'm
Yeah.
very glad that even after all this has happened, I was able to, I came out.
What are some of these relationships you chose then, do you think, now looking back?
So I had low self-esteem, and I felt that relationships will give me that value.
Yeah.
I felt lacking in myself. Like I
Yeah.
lacked that value.
Yeah.
Being in a relationship gives me that value, gives me that
Yeah.
completeness. So for that, like it would happen, like I was ready to fall in love with the first man who was going to give me an attention.
Yeah.
That's how desperate I was.
Yeah.
Even someone meeting me. So one thing in my mind was that marriage is a way where I can escape this dysfunctional home.
Mm.
Like I had this, like, girls get married and they go to a different home. So one was, it was my escapade.
Mm.
I knew it very clearly that the only way I can escape this home is I get married to some other guy, move into
Yeah.
his home. So that was number one. And secondly, I longed for that family. So I was very desperate. And I remember, I would give those kind of indirect cues to men also
Yeah.
to show my subtle interest.
Yeah.
And knowing that there is a desperation, and
Yeah.
I went to any extent. So I never thought, in my mind it was like I would never attract a guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, and then someone would get attracted to me, and I thought, okay, he's the first one, he's the last one, so I'll just go and grab that man, like literally profess my love. And
Mm.
most of these men were abusive men, in terms of, there was a different types of abuse. Like with one it was financial abuse, with one it was like, it was just about sex. The relationship was, he was only wanting sex from me. There was nothing other, in the relationship. He would not disclose about our relationship to his
Mm.
friends, or he would keep it
Mm.
very discreet, and it was only about sex. And I was very, very discontent with everything while I was into it. But the only what happened was, because I had so low self-worth, that I couldn't find it, muster the courage to walk out of it. And got married in a patriarchal setup. Like again, relationship did not work. So I thought, okay, let's just get it legally signed so that the boy doesn't leave, because all these men left me. So I thought, okay, now the only way is to just go and straight away get married, because then there will be a legal thing attached, then he will not be able to walk away. Like I was so scared of abandonment. So I
Yeah.
went ahead, married the first guy who liked me. Like first guy who liked me, I just got married. I thought, okay, profession, okay, and then educated, nothing else, like no discussion of compatibility. I just made up my mind that, okay, if the boy is earning well. But then after the marriage, I found that the family was very patriarchal. I stayed in the marriage for 5 6 years, because again, I did not have courage. I thought, okay, I need this marriage for survival, I can't survive. It was only after he left country for 2 years on a, a different assignment out of the country, that for those 2 years I was very obese. Like I was 80 kgs. Now I'm 66. I just took on food to kind of deal with that, emotional trauma. So emotional comfort. The moment he left, like within 15 days, I lost 10 kgs without doing anything.
Wow.
Yes, I tell this story because, and even I'm coming up with a workshop where I tell that a lot of body weight issues are because of mental health. We don't talk about this, we talk about body positivity, but I'm saying that if you are under stress and you are gaining fat, you need to let go of that fat. And that is what happened. Like, I wouldn't now I understand that the moment my husband left, I was so relieved. I just lost 10 kgs. Like,
Yeah.
and that was my sign. So, but then
Yeah.
again, I went into other relationships, which was like, you know,
Yeah.
abusive, like financially, sexually, this same thing. It's like, you know, repeat on the repeat mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
My last abandonment was like the man left me. That was when I came, like literally came to my knees. Like literally, I felt that one of my friends said that, Pallavi, you are growing old. I don't know if it is true, but it just hit me. So he said, Pallavi, you are growing old. Right now, you are in your 30s. You are going to be in your 40s in 2 or 3 years. But in your 40s, you would not be able to deal with this.
It's up and down. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he said that you better be vigilant and do something about it because, right now you still have the capacity. And I could feel that I'm going somewhere, I'm losing myself, I'm losing my peace, everything. Like, I have a
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
So one of the concerns was me, he can't see his mom crying and,
Yeah. Yeah.
staying hungry all the
Yeah.
time, which
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
So then I went to therapist. I always believed in therapists, but none of them where so like quackery is so prevalent in India. Glad I found a good therapist. Like, he's a good
Yeah.
therapist, and this is where yeah.
Yeah. And that's where your journey to becoming who you are today started, I think, wasn't it?
Hmm.
How many of us seek to find ourselves in our romantic relationships, to find a partner who will mend our broken bits? So many of us feel that when we find that perfect someone, we will then be whole again. And sometimes, even when those relationships don't work, we still stay because we fear not finding another person who will love us. Because we wonder who we would be without our partner. Because we're afraid of being alone. We tell ourselves maybe it's easier to just stay. What do we do then? I don't have the answers. But I guess a good start is reminding ourselves that we are complete, that we were whole right from the moment we were born, and that only when we have the courage to destroy the good enough do we get to what's truly good for us, to become the magical, glorious, powerful people we were meant to be. So, what led you to become a sex educator, and why do you think that's important in the world?
Because, for me, my relationships, my presence in my relationship was just limited to sex. With my husband, it was again a sexless marriage, so there was no sex, and thereafter very strong. So I could see the both multiple aspects of sex. One, there was sexual objectification. Two, there was a sexual withholding because, lack of emotions or lack of affection. Three, there was like a peak of sexuality where I also, like, really became very sexual. I went ahead and had an extramarital affair. Technically, I was out of that marriage, where I knew that I'm going to walk out of the marriage, but still I had a relationship while I was married, legally married. Like, so you are mentally separated, you're physically
Yeah.
separated, but legally you are married and you have an affair. So you would still call that as an extramarital
Yeah.
affair.
Yeah.
And I had that, and it was very, very sexually intense. I really like that. So when we say that, okay, women in their mid 30s or 30s, like, we tend to associate sex with this, 20s or honeymoon period. I think for me, my sexual experience really improved as I grew. And I felt like, wow, that's such a discovery. So, all three aspects, I think sex was through and through, whether the absence of it, whether the, objectification of it, or whether the blossoming of it. I was really fascinated with this journey, plus my parents' relationship, which was, I could see that intensity. So I knew the intensity that we hold, but how do we channelize it? How do we productively bring it out rather than, kind of this taboo, creating a taboo, like that taboo can lead to so many issues like these, discrete affairs where you don't know, there is no guideline. We don't have any guidelines of what is healthy, what is unhealthy around sex.
And I think taboo is an interesting word, what you just said there. With women, particularly in our culture, like Asian women, Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, it's such a taboo for us to own our own sexuality. Even now, even 2020, whether you live in India, whether you live in the UK, for a woman like you or I to come up and talk about orgasms or pleasure or our bodies, it's still so taboo. And I think personally, and I'm sure you think that sex is really, really important for us, for our kind of health and our well-being. What sort of things do your clients bring to you when they come to you, South Asian women?
Yeah, many issues. And one thing I have seen increasingly is because traditionally sex is thought of as a man's domain, like, a man is sexual and a woman is not sexual. But I've seen the opposite in marriages where women crave for sex and in the marriages, and men are people who are not interested in sex. I mean, yesterday itself, I had a session where they have a love marriage of like 15 plus years, and they have everything going good for them except for, that man is not interested in sex at all. Like 3 months, once in 3 months, and then she is not in the mood because she thinks that she doesn't want this. She wants like either you do it regularly.
Yeah, or you don't. Yeah, completely understand.
Now the man said that, Pallavi, I will be very honest with you. I will tell you that I like her so much. Because she's my high school sweetheart. So we have literally grown together, and I love her so much. I admire her so much that I cannot imagine myself to be a devil with the dick.
Yeah.
So that is such a conflicted,
Yes.
association of sexuality. That sexuality is something that you can't do this to her because she's so, and that's how we are brought up.
I completely get that. So she's so pure. She's the object of his affection, and she's this kind of on a pedestal that he can't do that to her. That's what I'm getting. Is that what he meant?
I mean, he couldn't see himself as a person who is, because love making typically they show it as a lot of grabbing, groping, snatching,
Yes.
He didn't want to do all of that.
Something so dirty with someone he loved. Yes, and I think that right there, I think epitomizes how in our culture we view sex. It's like this dirty act. It's like this aggressive thing. It's something you do, and it's an awful thing. And we don't really think about it. We're not taught really in our growing up years to think about sex as something that is part of a healthy marriage, that sex is something that's part of our health, really, for women. Like sexual health, it's important, and it affects so many parts of your life. And do you find that this is normal? I say normal, but do you find that a lot more women are wanting sex, whereas the male partners don't? Do you find that in your work?
Yes, a lot. I've been getting queries from men also about their wives not interested. But I think the queries from women, either they outnumber men or at least they would be equal. Definitely no lesser.
We've been taught that female sexual desire is elusive, that men always want sex, and that women rarely do. This is entirely different from what women say to me in my workshops. The women I know enjoy sex. They seek exciting sexual adventures. They desire and want to be desired. The other myth we're sold is that as women grow older, we're less interested in sex. We're taught that all older women want is garden centres and pots of tea. Nothing wrong with either, but you know what I mean. And if you're an older South Asian woman, you're just supposed to mind the grandkids, knit endless socks, and watch those dreadful TV soaps. When will we start to understand that women, both young and old, are interested in their bodies, in their sex lives, and their glorious orgasms? What other issues do people bring to you as a sex coach? What are the kind of things you come across?
The erectile dysfunction, erectile difficulties of men, which could be age-related, which could be, it is so common. erectile issues like premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, where you are not able to have an erection, hold an erection for an intercourse. And the way we have understood sexuality, it is something like it's the unmissable. You can't have sex without intercourse. That's how. And I've been looking at work of a lot of therapists, sex therapists, where they say that intercourse is okay, not like it's not really the mandatory or the something indispensable, like lesbians have sex. So I totally agree. But when I shoot out this idea, I mean, there's this another industry which is thriving, which is saying, okay, you have to get erection at any
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah.
I have had a woman, like they are a newly married couple,
Yeah.
and I can tell you that I can really predict what is going to happen in their life 5 years down the line. So they are a newly married couple, and she said her husband is sitting beside her, and she said that for me to get an orgasm, I need a really good, hard, and thick erection. Like I felt like, oh my God, poor guy, because he's under so much of pressure.
Pressure. Exactly.
Like
Wow.
good heart, like the good heart and erection. Like, okay, I have to, and I think that's where most men are reading, because they feel they have to get this good hard erection. It is something which is not really under their control, and the more they think about it, the more it interferes with the erection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exploration is a relatively a very smaller chunk of Indian audience as of now, because again most people don't it is taking them time to warm up to therapy.
Hmm.
Okay, like we can see a sex coach, or we can take counseling therapy are something which is very new in our culture. So unless something very life change, like it is very life altering happens,
Yeah. Yeah.
they don't come. So
Yeah.
sexploration is something I do get queries where people have a good sex life.
Yeah.
We are not at that stage where we are saying, okay, how we can enhance or elevate our experience by taking an expert help. Though I get queries like this, I have gotten queries where couples are having good sex life, but they say, okay, what more we can do. Majority of these are problem oriented statements where, like sexless marriages, either by choice, like one person not interested, or either by physicality, where there could be vaginismus, like the woman, her vagina is too tight, there is no intercourse can happen. The very weird thing what I found is most of these unconsummated marriages, they come when the family is pressurizing them to have kids. They have a
Wow.
2 year sexless marriage,
Yeah.
unconsummated marriage, they could not have sex, and now the family is pressurizing them. So that's the hypocrisy of Indian society, that we are covertly talking about, okay, when are you guys having sex? I mean,
Yeah. 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 Or we're not even like concerned about whether they're having sex or not. It's just, where are the babies? Like that's the. So if there are no babies, then you're like, okay, then why you're not having sex, rather than anybody being interested. Whether
and they
that's
are so ashamed. Like they say, okay, now we have to tell them that we are not even having sex. Like
yes,
in
yes,
the family.
yeah, it has to come to that. Do you think in Indian society attitudes towards sex have changed at all in the last kind of 10 years, maybe? Do you see it
I
changing?
mean, not really at a broader scale, because if you talk about, our parents, no, there is no change. So kids don't kind of go and say, okay, our parents, we can talk about sex with them. That is not happening.
Yeah.
But at the level of millennials and Gen Z, I do see a change happening. More in Gen Z, and then now they call it as a alpha generation, I guess. So 2000 born plus. So I see them very much interested in content. Like I know I have a lot of young audience. Like they are youngsters, but none of them can speak about it.
Yeah.
I remember on LinkedIn, I also post a lot on LinkedIn, which is a professional network, and a lot of people said that we don't. Although my posts are very scientifically driven, they say we can't like our post because LinkedIn you will get to see. So your boss will get to see which post you have liked. So they don't want anyone to know that.
So basically what you're saying is that while there is a change in their own internal mindset, it still doesn't feel acceptable for them to be seen talking about or consuming that content. And I feel like, but from my point of view, I've left India now, 16 years, like none of the people that I knew were doing the content say you're doing, or any of the sex educators like Lisa Mangaldas or Seema or any of these people. That's new, I think. Anybody publicly going onto a public platform like YouTube or Instagram and talking about sex like you are, that's unusual. So I suppose there is a change, and I suppose there is a slower change. And I'm guessing that change is different in cities and in smaller towns, I suppose less and less so. Do you find that at all?
Yeah, I mean, metros are no different than smaller towns when it comes to public acceptance of sex. It's the same.
Okay. Okay.
It can be happening in close circles, like, you may have a close, intimate gathering of friends in a
Yeah.
drawing room, and
Yeah.
you may talk about it on a couch, but not on
Yeah.
internet or
Yeah.
not anywhere where you are to be seen.
But you have seen as public. Absolutely. Talking about kind of our culture, and the culture we come from, you talk a lot about kind of the mythology in our culture and old myths that are connected to sex. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know that it's something you really like to talk about.
Yeah, so I mean, we are, a religious country. Like, I would say, broadly speaking, by and large, we are a religious country, and I think that's where you actually talk about sexuality, because religion has really relationship with sexuality. If you see, during so there is a festival which is Durga Puja. It's a Hindu festival where they make these idols of mud. These idols are kept out, like, while they are being sculpted by the sculptures, and these idols don't have vaginas. Any idol of a god, you look at them, when you see them temples, like, a lot of times you will see the priest and like kind of dressing them in the usual, like, cleaning up process. You will see none of the gods have their genitals, and that was a very wonderful finding. I kind of found that, okay, yeah, you make them as a humans, but you don't give that, what makes him a male, what makes him a female, because that's where it is, like, okay, creating this genital means the
It's
god
either
is.
male or female. It's a binary. Got it. Got it. And again, coming back to culture, Kama Sutra, there are so many texts like this, right? And again, this perception that we have that somehow sex is not part of our culture. Like, I feel like that's a misconception, because sex is very much part of our culture. It has been for millennia, right? It's just that we've lost it. We've lost that connection to it. Right?
Yeah, you see, so many gods have, multiple wives. Like, even Shiva had more than one wife. Kali was Shiva's wife. Parvati, so even Krishna, you see the Ras Leela and the Radha. Like, I should tell them that you are worshipping someone who is an unmarried couple, and then here you are creating so many issues for couples to live in together.
Yeah.
Like you say, live in, and you are actually worshipping a god with not his wife. So his wife was Rukmini.
Yeah.
Rukmini is not worshipped with Krishna, but Radha is worshipped with Krishna. So even though Krishna had a legal wife, so that's such an irony. Like, when you question, and people have no answers, because it's like more like a blind faith.
Many South Asian women will remember their parents turning off the TV every time there was a sex scene. That's how taboo sex was in our lives. We were taught that our culture expected us as women to be uninterested in sex, that sex in fact was for procreation only. This couldn't be further from the truth. We are the culture that created the Kama Sutra, a book from the 4th century BC talking about female pleasure, among many other things. We are the culture that gave the world the Tantra tradition, where sex can weave the physical with the spiritual. Our ancient mythology is full of stories of love and sex, our gods changing form from male to female without it being a big deal. We've even got a goddess called Rati, whose very name translates into sexual pleasure and desire. So the next time someone tells you that sex isn't part of South Asian culture, you'll know just what to say. With the couples who come to you or people who come to you, have there been any stories that have stood out for you, like that's really helped you or inspired you? It's like your work, how that's changed people.
Yeah, I mean, I also happened to get a testimonial from this client of mine, and she said, so she was, again, grew up with very iconoclastic values on sexuality, like, okay, it's dirty, it's shameful. Parents were very discreet about their own life. She has no idea of her parents' sex life. Like most kids, most clients, I ask them that, okay, what is about? So they're looking at me as like I'm talking turkey. Like, I say, yeah, you are living in the same house. I mean, if your parents have an intimate relationship, you have no idea. So see, that's so disconnected. Like two adults staying in the home, and we have no idea about, okay, they could have something like that. She also grew up with similar values of shameful sexuality, and her husband, they had a sexless marriage on and off, like 2 years of sexless marriage, and one off incident where she would just do it more like a duty. So that is also, we see in the culture, is like the duty sex.
Yes.
And her husband did not like it. In fact, one of my clients even said that, it feels like I'm raping my wife, because she just lies there still, nothing. She says,
Yeah.
so even though the consent is there, because she thinks, okay, it's his need, but he doesn't like it. He wants her to be involved. So she came to me, and we talked about movies. There are certain movies way back in 80s. Like I talk about, there is this movie called Parama by Aparna Sen. She's a Bengali filmmaker, very bold, and I'm so glad. So there is one movie of Aparna Sen. I don't remember the name of the movie, but I will tell you the scene. So the scene is, she is having sex with her lover, Aparna Sen. So she is the actress also, and she's a director also. So she is having sex with her lover. The lover is outside marriage, and the child is basically playing there out in the garden, and she's on the top floor. So the child is like, wanting, the child is calling her like ma, the child is 7 8 year old, and she's having that orgasm. She's like, so she's actually seeing here and there, like, what should I do? But she continues to kind of enjoy that.
Wonderful. That's so good.
And they have shown this in like late 80s or early 90s. That's the movie. Like, actually it's a scene like where, they are showing not nudity, but the partner is thrusting, like he's like moving.
Yeah.
So she's also, one part of her is like listening to the child's, call, that, okay, he's calling his mom. He's a very small child.
Yeah.
And then here she's enjoying, and she just goes, she decides to be here.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful, isn't it? And did that help the person who you were working with?
So I shared some of these movies because they have seen the only imagery of sex is around porn. So they don't know that, okay, human emotions, mom, or I think, so yes.
Tell me, Pallavi, how has this worked? So you obviously work with a lot of couples and a lot of people, and you've helped, I'm sure, a lot of people in navigating their sexuality and sex life. How has this work changed you?
Okay, that's a good question. So I think I also believe that the way, we have been brought up, what I've been seeing in the best of the best cases, people have so much of baggage about, what they have grown up in their childhood, because families are not really functional in the ideal sense. I've seen people who have grown pampered, and that also serves as a blockage, because, they are not able to accommodate, because they've been pampered so much, spoiled so much. So for me personally, I'm still learning the ropes. Like, one thing I have really worked on is my boundaries, because to understand that sexuality doesn't mean reckless sleeping. Being sexually empowered doesn't mean that you have a score, or you just hit on a list like, okay, today it's with this person. I'm not judging, but I'm saying that for me, sexual empowerment has a different meaning. And I think that should be a common meaning, by saying that it is not linked to a number. You being sexually empowered has nothing to do with the number of partners you have. Because there was a time when I actually thought it's that. Like, if I have the power, I can have sex with anyone, anytime, Now I realize that it's also about values. Sexuality has so much into it: pleasure, values, consent, health, So I think on that level, I have really evolved. Intellectual, like, can sexuality be intellectualized? It has always been physicalized, like,
Yes.
So I think that intellectualization of sexuality is very, very, I have really found myself so sexual, even when I'm sitting in the mid of a concert, just enjoying that music, and it turned me on. And there's this guy sitting next to me, and that, chemistry, that tension, I would just enjoy, and I would hold on to that. Like, that holding on is so, so powerful, rather than just, sometimes letting it go and do it. So we don't understand those layers of sexuality. Like, it is not just you do it. It's not a set of things. It's a place to be.
Absolutely. And that's so beautifully said, I think, because I think what I find, and I think you touched upon this at the beginning of our conversation, that sex isn't something you just do in the body. It's beyond that, isn't it? It's kind of to do with our spirit. It's to do with our soul. It's to do with, I don't know, a lot more than just a physical thing, I think. What's next for you, Pallavi?
So I am finishing touches on my toxic relationship, how to overcome and recover from a toxic relationship. And I have got a very good reception. You know, like everyone is saying, like, oh, this is so common. Oh, I would be interested. Like this is something which is so relatable. So I'm working on this online course, and I've also launched a offline workshop on art of intimacy in Delhi, where we are calling a group of people, and we will be talking, experiencing intimacy on different levels, like sensuality. There is no sexuality, but sensuality, spirituality, emotionality. So on all those levels, we are trying to create a experience around intimacy. So just to kind of normalize these topics in a very dignified and graceful way, like that dignity, grace, and refinement is so needed for this subject.
Sounds wonderful, and I can't wait to see and hear about all the amazing work I'm sure you're going to do. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you, Pallavi. Thank you for being on Masala Podcast.
Thank you, Sangeeta.
I'm Sangeeta Pillai. Thank you for listening to Masala Podcast, a Spotify original. Masala Podcast is part of my platform Soul Sutras. What's that all about? Soul Sutras is a network for South Asian women, a safe space to tell our stories, to hear inspiring South Asian women challenging patriarchy, a space to be exactly the people we want to be and still feel like we belong in our culture and our community, and ultimately a space where we feel less alone. I'd love to hear from you, so do get in touch via email at soulsutras.co.uk or go to my website soulsutras.co.uk. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. Just look for Soul Sutras. Masala Podcast was created and presented by me, Sangeeta Pillai, produced by Anushka Tate, opening music by Sunny Robertson.
Besharam, Badtameez, Gandhi, Hi, bad beti.